the challenges that that I faced at that time was that I wasn't asking for help, vocalizing and really finding mentors. I tried to do it on my own, and that was a mistake. That people sometimes think that you know you can do it on your own.
Welcome to the Immigrant Experience in America, an immigrant human library, where we amplify and humanize the experiences of immigrants in the United States and around the world. Listen in as we add another story to our immigrant human library.
What I was doing is working really hard and expecting to be noticed, but that's not how it works in the United States. You need to be able to promote your work, to ask for what you need. And I was for several years struggling with that, to the point where if I needed help with what I was doing at work, I didn't speak up, and it turned out in burnout because of no being able to speak up, feeling that if you will say something, will show that you are not capable to do the work. And all those kind of fears just keep me just doing the work and trying to perform without help.
Wow. And that's such a, I went through that too. I can so relate with that. I'm still working on myself to overcome that particular thing of learning to, as they say in the US, toot your own horn, right? It's important coming from collectivist cultures, such as a country like Colombia, to learn to market yourself, your skills, your abilities in a marketplace such as the US. It's very individualistic, is the term they use. It's capitalistic, and it's about you simply being able to communicate what your abilities, what's your value, what you bring to the marketplace, and being able to do that succinctly. And so for me, it wasn't quite clear for me at first. It's something that I've had to learn and learn the hard way, because nobody presented the US culture as I know it now when I first arrived. I had to decode it for myself. And it took me literally 2 decades, which is why my book was written, right? Decoding America, because it was painful at times and not understanding, just being lost in that in-between world of trying to translate things from the culture that you knew to the culture that you're now immersed in. So I can so relate to that. So for listeners, it's so important for you to listen to podcasts like this, read literature, find places that can decode the American culture for you in a very succinct way so that you can get it from the start. It will, how do I say, put you so many steps ahead of the game if you can do that from the start. But when you have to decode it and learn it yourself, it takes time. And the emotional, psychological stress of going through that journey can be overwhelming for so many people.
Yeah, it is. It takes a lot of time if you try to learn on your own. Fortunately, today there is a lot of, more. I think the internet is, different. It allows you just to learn many things, and experience things, even if you're not in those groups, just to learn more. I don't feel like I had that, or I wasn't used to that coming from Colombia. Honestly, when I was in college, there was the internet, but in our countries it's different. We were not using it the way that it's used today, that you need something and you just go in the internet and you can learn something entirely in YouTube without taking a class, right? Just being very resourceful to just search and find what you need. You can learn so much things. But I guess when you have this mindset and you come from a culture like my culture, where when I was in high school or in college, I know there was internet, but we didn't really use it the way that is today. I know over there today, people, of course, they use it, and some people don't use it because they don't even have money to pay for internet. So things are very backwards there. Still, there are no systems. People still have to go to an office and ask for an appointment, or they can call, but there's no a lot of making appointments in online. Like it's not as normal as is here. It's still very different back there. Still very different than here. It's still behind, unfortunately.
Right, in so many ways, right? Yes, and yeah, it is different in the US compared to a lot of countries. Things seem to move slower versus very fast paced, fast tracked here in the United States because of the technological advances and use of technology. I remember when there was this big move, maybe about a decade ago, to get everybody to sign up for an email to get people online. And a lot of the population has made so much strides with like being able to do online banking, to set appointments, to do so much online. And so the rest of the world is probably getting there, but probably moving at a slower pace. Because it's just different culturally. The US is about work, it's about output, it's about capitalism, making sure that there's a lot of innovation and that, building the marketplace. And in other places, it's not always the priority. The community, family, farming, and other things might take precedence over the way life is here in the US. So I completely get that. Did you say what city you came to, Sandra? I'm sorry if I missed it.
I think I didn't mention. I mentioned a small town. The city where I went to college is Cali, Colombia, and it's very close, 30 minutes or 40 minutes from where I was born. It's called Palmira, but it's in the same state. Yeah, it's close.
And in the US, when you arrived, did you go to the East Coast? I'm assuming East Coast. I don't know.
Yes, correctly. I came there, to the East Coast, to New Jersey, and I've been always here. Never moved to another state so far. We've been thinking with my husband maybe to go to another place, but still thinking about that. Expensive here in New Jersey. That's why.
Very, very in the New York tri-state. What is it? Pennsylvania, New Jersey, New York, and up north in the Northeast there. And Washington, D.C. as well. Very expensive. Saw that you were wearing a sweater and I'm wearing like a light t-shirt here. It's still warm here down in the South. We have bright sunlight. We had rain earlier. I think it's about maybe low 80s today, but it looks like you've already gotten some cold there in New Jersey. Maybe in what, the 60s or 50s, maybe?
Yeah, I know, and I have also the AC here in the house, so I kind of like to be fresh. So I put the AC, but then I put something warm. So yeah, but today it's not bad. It's not hot or cold. We still not that cold yet.
Okay, so fall weather.
Yeah, fall weather.
Okay, very good, very good. So you moved to New Jersey, but you moved a bit far away, and then you had to, take the train for quite a bit of a distance, and you transitioned to a car and, learning to become more independent and so forth. So I wonder, aside from the challenges of language adjustment and mobility and building relationships, what were some successes that came along the way? How did you, what were connections? How do I say, social groups or other things that might have helped you just feel like you were putting down roots in the New Jersey area?
Yeah, when I got here, the first thing for me was to start learning more the language. So I signed for ESL classes at the university. I was going at night I was very used to that life because I went to college at night, so it was normal for me. Um, I did that for about 2 years, and then uh, really focus at exceeding in my job, trying to climb the ladder in corporate America, and the challenges that that I faced at that time was that I wasn't asking for help, vocalizing and really finding mentors. I tried to do it on my own, and that was a mistake. That people sometimes think that you know you can do it on your own, but it makes a difference when you find somebody that guides you. And once I did that is when things changed for me. I was finally finding the way to advance in my career, to change roles, because to be honest, I was stuck in the same role that I moved me to the US for 7 years. I wanted to move inside the company, but I was terrified about interviewing in English. So I stayed there for about 7 years until I find help. I look for help with HR and mentors, and finally I found that wow, it took me long to have the courage to ask for that help, and once I had it, I quickly moved to a global role. 2 months or 3 months after I was working with a mentor, he wanted me to join his team. So that's when I jumped to a better role, and I was so happy, but I was so scared too, because in this role it was a lot of talking to people, um, joining MBRs, business review, talking to clients in meetings. So I was really afraid, but it's funny, once you do it, you are in the situation, you somehow manage to learn and face the fear and probably the embarrassment at the beginning, and really hard. But what I learned from all of that is that you have to do it, you have to take action, you have to put yourself in a very uncomfortable situation to be able to grow and to get more opportunities. So once I was able to do that, I stay in that role, and then I find out that I needed to that I wanted to leave the industry and learn something new. And the fear that I have even to interview inside my company, it was worse thinking about interviewing outside the company, because even inside the company, as scary as it was, they knew me, right? They knew my work and all my trajectory with them, so it was easier to interview with them. They know most of my story. But going outside the company and going to another company, another industry, you have to to show your experience and to convince them you are the person that they need. And that was another challenge, but I was liking it now to challenge myself. And so I went from fear to use fear to fuel my desire for growth, right? Once I was facing the fears, it became a little bit being courageous or brave, like I call it, became a little addictive to me. Like I wanted to do something brave. Like it just feels good when you pass that moment. You've been brave and you did something that you were afraid to do. So I became a little. I tell my husband I became a little bit addicted to face brave moments and do something that scares me. So I think that changed a lot from the beginning when I arrived to the US. when I arrived to the US, I used to keep myself in a safe place with everything, with work, with people, just quiet doing my work. But I became, as the years in this country passed, and after I was had the courage to leave that role of 7 years, I became more courageous, more brave to do things that scares me, and that's how I started moving in other things and opportunities, and really find my true path, what I really wanted to do.
So tell us, what industry did you start in, and like what other industries might you have dabbled in while you were here in the U.S. While you have been here in the U.S. rather?
Yeah, when I graduated from college, I started in the global logistics back in Colombia. And when I moved to the US, it was with that global company, same industry, of course, here in the US, working in global logistics and with DHL. And then I moved to manufacturing with a company that produce goods. So another global company, Reckitt is their name, and that was more supply chain, like doing more planning work about planning for production. So that's the two industries that I've been working in my entire career until I left corporate America and I started working more in personal development.
Okay, so you transitioned out of corporate and are now doing your own entrepreneurial pursuits.
Right. I create my own business. Once I get my certifications in neurolinguistic programming and also Huna training and mindset, I got those 3 certifications. I was studying for about 2 years while I was in corporate America, and I enjoy it. All started with my desire for personal growth and finding my passion. So never thought was to leave corporate America. It was with an intention that climbing the ladder is what it was in my mind when I started all those trainings. But I was so enjoying that work and that energy and the environment that I decided that my passion was really personal development, personal growth, and that's why I decided to start my own business and transition to that, which has been one of the after moving to corporate America to the US, it has been one of the hardest things that I have in my journey so far.
It's definitely not an easy road being an entrepreneur and building something from the ground up. We've heard many stories, and you're validating that here. You've shared so much, Sandra, and I wonder if anything comes to mind, such as any humorous moment throughout your journey, transitioning from Colombia into the Northeast United States, like anything humorous that comes to mind that you'd like to share with our audience?
Yeah, no, I mean, there is a lot of situations, situations with humor when it comes to the language is what I think. There are words that in Spanish and English sound almost the same spelling, and sometimes they are exactly the same, they mean the same, but other times these words are really look the same in spelling, but they are different in meaning. So one of those words, for example, is constipated, right? Constipated in English, we know what it means, right? And in Spanish, the word is constipado, and it means to be kind of sick through. to have a call or something. And I had made mistakes thinking that the word is the same, right? Just because we call it, I think in English they call transparent words. When I was learning English, there are some transparent words that they sound the same and means the same, but not all the words that do that really mean the same. So I made those mistakes trying to use a word like that. And it's funny, even Colombian people, if you go in social media, they sometimes joke with that. They kind of use the word and make it in English. The same word in Spanish, they try to make it in English, like by saying the sound that you will say in English, you will put it in the Spanish word. Is funny. I don't know if it's funny but for others, but I think it's funny when we do that.
No, that's very true. I had a previous guest who was actually a US citizen who moved to Japan and misused a word that based on just maybe like an intonation of how you sound when you're pronouncing it, but it was so similar that the way that he pronounced it, it gave the wrong meaning of what he was actually intending, and it was crazy because the person completely misinterpreted him and just was so uncomfortable around him after that, and he did not mean to say what actually came out. So it happens a lot for people who, because he had to go from English to Japanese, and you can imagine how hard that is. They're not even close, right? And so Spanish and English are called Romance languages. They quite a bit of similarities, but could be very challenging for somebody going from one to the other as well. So I there's a lot, I'm sure there's a lot of things that people can think of over the years of people who are Spanish speakers and going from Spanish to English, of mistakes that they've made, errors, faux pas that they've made over the years. But thanks for sharing that. So I want to transition into today, Sandra, both, and your book and the business. Give us the name of the book, the name of the business, and the story surrounding that transition from corporate into wanting to do personal development.
Yeah, it's the transition is the story is a little bit what I shared already. I was trying to pursue career growth, thinking that was that my dream when I moved to this country was really corporate America and get to the highest levels. But once I understood that my passion was really personal growth, and I really was very focused in things that many people is focused when you work in corporate America is titles, right? Pursuing a title, and that was me. I wanted to get to that point, but when I went through all these training and learnings, it really connected me with my own self, and learned that wasn't my path, that I needed to. I was kind of rejecting the path that I wanted. I always wanted, even when I told you the story how I choose my college when what to study, I didn't go for what my passion was. I went for what what will give me my survival. And I was doing that my entire life. But if I would have done that when I was young, I would have studied psychology, or even I wanted to be a lawyer. But I never pursued that because the way I grew up, those were things that were not for people like me, right? I needed to find something. And I believed in that time, there was no school that I could go do that at night. To be able to work during the day. So that's what I didn't choose that. I chose something I could pay for and have a job when I was done. But now, later in my life, I realized I have to start rejecting, what is my own passion, and just find a way to do it. And I have the support of my husband, so that's what I started transitions to from corporate America to create my own idea of what I wanted to do. And really is the things that help you the most with that is when you accept your own journey, your own story, and use it to fuel your purpose. And the journey that I had in this country really had a purpose. I realized. So that's what I wrote this book. The book was more part of my healing, about all this journey that I experienced from how I grew up and the transition to the US. And once I was done with the book, I realized that I wanted to help people, to try to make it faster than me to they realize to what is that they're here for, not after years of, but really early in life. But the truth is that everybody find their way in their own time. So now with Thriving Mindsets, what I'm doing is helping corporate professional immigrants, especially with challenges around public speaking, the fear of public speaking, and teaching them tools. And I study neurolinguistic programming, which is full of tools that help people with mastering communication, and especially for immigrants, right? Where we need to be direct and efficient, and now know how to persuade people and negotiate for and advocate for what we want, what we need, and really for what the value that we bring into the table. So that's what Thriving Mindsets is the purpose, to helping people and to help really that more voices are heard, that more voices are not left behind.
Wow, you've said so much gold, shared so much that are so golden right there, Sandra, about how as immigrants, this whole immigrant mentality is we do what is pragmatic. We take a job because it's available, it's ready, it's right now, it brings us income so we can survive and do what we need to do, right? And it's sometimes later on in life that we come around to seeking our self-actualization and finding more deeper joy and purpose and meaning for life, right? Sometimes it takes some of us longer than others, but it would be great if we're able to do that from the very start. But sometimes it takes us a journey. It's part of some of our journeys to get to it later, because we have more wisdom and more to share, right, with people. So but thanks for taking us on that. So do you have a copy of the book there that you'd like to hold up and show others what it looks like and how they can find it online? It's called Unmuting Myself. Okay. There we go. We got it. They're right there. Unmuting Myself, A Voice Silenced by Doubt Dared to Rise by Sandra Bowles.
Thank you so much. Yeah, really with Thriving Mindsets and with my transition, I want to transition in public speaking. It's something that really scares me during my whole career in corporate America. And now that I overcame, I think it's funny how I was really scared of public speaking. That I had to do it. I had to put myself in front of a stage, in front of, this was 400 people, and give a speech so that I know I can do this and that anybody can do it, right? And there's only way to get visibility, and to, whether if you are in corporate America or if you are an entrepreneur, you need to be putting yourself out there where people can see you and where you can, tell your message and be in networking events, pitching your business, pitching your ideas. So that's what I did. I start with that speech, And it is around language bias, because what I want to do is create awareness, not only for for native speaker English speakers, but also for non-native English speakers, that we need to use our voice and we need to use active listening, to be open to other cultures, to other sounds, to because there is so much that we can learn, by being open to other cultures, and understand that, that a culture is, for example, US culture is not universal, right? There are more places in the world, there are more ways of living. Why don't we want to embrace and learn from them? So that's what language bias speech is trying to do. And I'm preparing other talks around the same topic of language bias and culture and language. I'm studying right now, and I know you maybe know this anthropologist, Edward T. Hall. I love his work, and I've been reading a lot of his books. He has this book, the silent language, which is all about the culture and the codes in culture. And you speak about about these codes in your book. Is more silent codes. It's more the way people act, that you had to decode, like you said in your book, all these ways that people behave, and that we don't understand. And that's why I just think that culture is something that we need to open our minds to know that the way that we live is not the only way, right? It's not only for the people from the US, but people who come to the US, right? In my case, I think one thing is that in my case, I was 30 and I choose this challenge. I choose to come to this country. So for that reason, I had to choose to learn the way of living and try to also teach my way of living to the people I encounter in this country, and make everyone's life richer with that. So that's my opinion about all this thing about cultures.
It's definitely an exchange. It's definitely an exchange. And I think for those of us coming in, it requires us learning to step away from that humility that exists a lot of times in collectivist cultures. We're taught to just be more, we're very passive in our expression. We tend to express things more non-verbally, as Edward T. Hall talks about, it's important. I would recommend for anybody new coming in to do a lot of reading about collectivist cultures, because a lot of times we don't even know about the places and the way we communicate and the styles and nonverbal communication until we are placed in another space that is different from that. And then we start realizing we're not fitting in. And then the questions and the psychological pain starts coming up. And so if you can learn as much as you can about what is typical of communal collectivist cultures versus what are the traits of people in cultures such as the US, high versus high versus low context ways of communication, that would help. I wish I would have read this from the start. Oh my gosh, it would have saved me so much pain. It would have saved me from so many pitfalls, so many misunderstanding, and so many times of feeling silence, of not having the words to really express myself or to ask for help. It was because of the way we were in the cultures that we're coming from. It's different the way people express and share and communicate with each other. And so we had to learn and still learning.
Yeah, and all these learnings really through my study of neurolinguistic, we realized that, in my case, I realized that culture is something that is in our subconscious, in our unconscious mind. We have all these rules and behaviors, and we evaluate everyone in front of us with that in mind. And that's when, we can understand or accept other people because of the subconscious rules that we have from where we grow up, how we grow up. And And that's something that we if we know that how that works, we can create that awareness, and be more open when we are in front of someone. There is always going to come that unconscious rules and codes that we have, and be more open that people is different, and it's fine. It's not rude. It's just the way the culture is. And if we know that, we can, be more accept other people, and live a more harmonious, live in a more harmonious world, I guess.
Right.
Join us next time for part 3 of this episode. We thank our listeners around the world, and we appreciate your continued support as we build our human library. Please remember to give us a 5-star review, subscribe, and share with your friends, family, and circle of influence.